This is the RGB light panel project. It uses a infrared remote and a TSOP 38238 IR receiver in order to properly control this Adafruit NeoPixel 8x8 RGB matrix. This is the SparkFun infrared remote. It has a total of 9 buttons, each of which have their own specific infrared code signature. These signatures are picked up by the infrared receiver, which tells the microcontroller which button is being pressed, which will trigger its specific task. This is the infrared receiver. It has a total of 3 pins. The left is the data pin, which sends the code signature from the infrared remote to the microcontroller. The middle is the ground pin, and the left is the power pin, which can be connected anywhere from 2 to 5 volts. When a button is pressed on the controller, it sends out a signal that is too difficult for a microcontroller to read. This is where the receiver comes in handy, as it takes this jagged signal and converts it to a much smoother data signal that the microcontroller can read properly. This is the Adafruit RGB NeoPixel matrix. It has a total of 64 LEDs, all of which can be run off of just one single data pin. Each of these LEDs can draw up to 60 milliamps of current, therefore a power supply is needed, which is a 5 volt 2 amp power supply. On the back here, as you can see, there are 2 different sets of pins. One is for an output to connect to a second matrix, and the other is an input, which is connected to the Arduino. It has a data in pin, which controls all of the LEDs, and then a 5 volt pin and a ground pin. The matrix has a total of 3 different light options. These are all controlled by these 3 buttons on the controller. As you can see, when you press the right button, it will set up a more of a functional white light version, and when you press the middle button, it will produce a rainbow effect. The final mode is a customizable RGB mode, which is controlled by these 3 buttons up at the top. Each of these represent either the red, green, or blue color, and for example, as the A button is pressed, it will increase the red factor in the serial monitor. As the B button is pressed, it will increase the green factor, and as the C button is pressed, it will increase the blue factor. And when the left button here is pressed, it will turn on the matrix in the color selected.